Celebration and vindication across the country. Connor McDavid's overtime goal lifting Canada to a 3-2 win over the Americans in the final of the Four Nations Face-Off tournament. How sweet it is. Last night's hero knowing this is something special.
Here in Boston against the Americans, that means the world. Obviously, you can see how happy our group is. It means a lot to us, too. This was a heck of a lot more than just a little tournament.
Jordan Binnington was also a big story last night. The Canadian netminder played a huge role in the win, stopping 31 shots and making a flurry of saves in overtime, including some spectacular ones in close.
And this was the Canadian dressing room after the game. The players belting out, "We are the champions," as they savored the dramatic win. Nathan MacKinnon had 4 goals in 4 games and was selected MVP of the tournament.
And this is how the Prime Minister reacted to the winning goal last night. Like millions of Canadians, Justin Trudeau watched the epic showdown that occurred amid political tension between the two countries.
Yeah, good afternoon. We're a little tired today. It was much more than just a hockey game. There was a lot on the line, and Team Canada came through when it mattered most.
Hockey fans were treated to a moment they will cherish for a long time, a night that showcased Canadian pride in all its glory. CTV's Allison Hurst is live at Maple Leaf Square with fan reaction. Allison.
People are proud, and they're not just thrilled with how the game ended, but also with the win during this current political climate.
Carr sends it around. Marner waiting. Connor McDavid scores! Connor McDavid for Canada!
A triumphant moment for Canadians.
Oh my God, did I jump out of my seat like crazy? Me and my son were just cheering like mad in the garage.
Daryl Coughlin and his son cheering for the win and what it represents both on and off the ice.
The way the government's going right now, what's going on? Absolutely, we needed to win that. It was such a great win.
The pride felt for our game and our country facing off against our North American rivals in trade and sport.
It's good to see that they played with that pressure and they really put the flag first kind of a deal. So, yeah, it was a really good game. I enjoyed it, yeah.
Following the win, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau posted on X a message to our southern neighbors. You can't take our country and you can't take our game.
It was pretty exciting. It was nice to see Marner get, a primary assist on the final goal. No, it was pretty cool to see that.
Leaf fans like Darian Gordon now hope he brings that winning mentality home.
Still like to see the Leafs do something, but Canada, it was pretty cool.
A stunning finish that saw Canada trump the Americans in overtime. The tournament may be over, but the tariff threat remains, and so we all wait to see what the next arena will be when Canada and the U.S. face off again. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Back to you in studio.
All right. Thank you, Allison. And still ahead, a Canadian star makes a big statement with a small change to the Canadian anthem. We'll have more on the politically charged game and what the win means for Canada coming up a little later in the newscast. Turning now to an early morning stabbing along a residential stretch in the city's West End.
A man rushed to hospital in critical condition with stab wounds, fighting for his life. CTV's Janice Golding is live at the scene this afternoon near Dovercourt and DuPont. What can you tell us, Janice?
Hi, Michelle. I can tell you that there is an ongoing police presence here on Dovercourt. Police have been collecting surveillance camera video, and this is where, of course, a man was stabbed overnight. Now, you're going to be looking at video obtained by our cameras overnight just after the incident occurred. Toronto police say they were called to Dovercourt near Geary Avenue, which is near DuPont, at 2:38 a.m. by people reporting that a man had been stabbed multiple times in the torso. When they arrived on scene, officers located a badly injured man in his 30s. At this point, we do not know if the stabbing occurred inside or outside a home, or if the victim resided in the area. He was transported to hospital with life-threatening injuries. Here is what neighbors have to say about what happened.
I was upstairs in my room, and I didn't hear anything. All I saw was the ambulance and a fire truck coming.
Yeah. And then when you found out somebody had been stabbed next door, what did you think?
It's really unfortunate that it happened, of course. like especially in this neighborhood when some stuff like this doesn't really happen. But it just really tells us that we gotta do better here.
I heard there was some stabbing there, but I don't know these people. I never seen them before, so we're very upset because it used to be a good neighborhood.
Now, when we last checked with Toronto Police a few minutes ago, they told us that the man is still in life-threatening condition. They don't have any suspect information at this point, so any information that anyone might have would be greatly appreciated. The investigation is ongoing. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. 2 inmates who escaped from a prison in Gravenhurst are back behind bars. 70-year-old Jay Sador and 68-year-old Michael Karras were discovered missing during a head count at Beaver Creek Institution Wednesday. Sador was jailed for first-degree murder, while Karras was sentenced to 15 years for robbery, forcible confinement, and using an imitation firearm. OPP say the pair has now been caught. Corrections Canada is investigating how the escape happened.
Toronto police have made an arrest in a sexual assault investigation dating back more than a decade and a string of other incidents. On Thursday, police arrested 35-year-old Adrian Francis of Oshawa. He's accused of sexually assaulting a woman while she was shopping in Pickering back in September of 2014. It's alleged he also committed indecent acts in stores in 2 incidents in 2019 and 2020 before a second sexual assault claim reported in Scarborough in late 2023. He was set to appear in court this morning.
As part of the GTA's struggle with the aftermath of those back-to-back snowstorms, Mayor Olivia Chow was asked to grade the city's clearing efforts.
Well, they're working at it. They're working hard. I don't want to give a grade yet. You get a report card at the end of the term, no? You don't give out a report card in the middle of, it's been a week. Okay, I remember last weekend the snow was just coming down. So, hey, look outside. The roads are very clear.
Crews are working to truck some of the snow away from side streets where it's still impacting travel. The mayor also urged motorists to watch where they park so they aren't blocking streetcars or snow routes.
Well, fortunately, we're not going to be adding to those snow piles, at least anytime soon. As we take a live look outside at the city, you can see bright sunshine just in time for your Friday, and there's more to come for Saturday. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison with a look at the current conditions. And yeah, a relatively quiet few days.
It is. It's going to be quiet, and that's a nice change compared to the last couple of weeks here in southern Ontario. It is still cold, at least for now. We are anticipating a warm-up by the time the weekend is finished, but at this hour, it is -7 degrees in Toronto, wind chill -14, and those winds are coming out of the northwest. So as we know, that's where the colder air is. It's being ushered in by those breezy winds. The winds, however, are going to change direction as early as tonight. So we'll talk about that. Still a little bit of lake effect snow in some areas. We're not expecting, as mentioned, to contribute to those snowbanks outside today. Chance of flurries over the weekend. For this afternoon, it is a sun-cloud mix and eventually a daytime high around -6 degrees. We're going to take you through your weekend forecast coming up, and we have some mild weather to talk about next week. All of those details are ahead. For now, Nathan, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Delta Airlines is addressing the rumors being spread online about the pilots of a plane that crashed while landing at Pearson Airport. The airline says its first officer was not new to the job and had been flying since last April. The comments contrast claims online by people saying the pilot had failed training events. The airline also defended the captain of the flight, saying he had not failed certain training events either and had been employed since 2007. The plane had struck the landing strip at the airport Monday, hitting the pavement and turning sideways as it slid down.
Now to one woman's harrowing story, trying to get home after a Sunwing vacation.
She says she's traumatized after a 3-day ordeal. CTV's Beth McDonnell has the story.
For Patricia McCartney and her boyfriend, the fun and relaxation from their Sunwing all-inclusive vacation to Dominican Republic is ruined.
We were just terrified. I'm completely traumatized. Like, I had a nightmare last night about being stuck at the airport.
Now home in Toronto, she was supposed to fly back Saturday with dozens of other passengers, but that turned into a 3-day ordeal made up of one crisis after another.
They just kept saying, call back in an hour, call back in an hour.
McCartney says when the initial flight was canceled, it went from going hours without food and water waiting at their resort to sleeping in the lobby one night and paying hundreds of dollars for a room a second night and a taxi to the airport the next day after the bus didn't show up.
We're all lined up waiting to board, and we hear about a plane crash.
Once at the airport, they learned of more delays before being told to get on a bus to another resort for a third night of waiting. Without knowing what was next, McCartney says at 5 a.m. her boyfriend heard a text notification that their flight was boarding in 3 hours.
So we fly out of bed, run downstairs, and the bus is there and everybody's lined up and we're all checking out. And then at that point, we were told that the flight was canceled.
This time, she says Sunwing had a technical problem and couldn't find their trip before they eventually flew home Tuesday at 11 a.m. McCartney says she understands there were weather and Delta crash delays, but that doesn't excuse the way they were treated.
Sunwing did a horrible job of communicating with us, of setting us up with a place to stay. Like, it's a human right to be able to have food and water.
McCartney says having a hotel room until delays were sorted would have made sense.
There was people who had ran out of their insulin for their babies with type 1 diabetes. I'm a registered pharmacy technician. There was a girl who was withdrawing from her hydromorphone painkillers.
She wants the company to reimburse her for the $2,300 trip and over $700 worth of expenses. Some customers are being directed to submit a claim.
I'm telling everybody and their cousins to never fly with Sunwing again.
CTV News has reached out to Sunwing for comment but has yet to hear back. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
We are less than a week away before voters head to the polls for the provincial election.
The countdown is on for frontrunners to make their pitch to all the voters, but PC leader Doug Ford is on another trip south of the border. CTV News Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live with the latest on the race. Siobhan.
Well, this is the second time that Doug Ford has gone to Washington in his capacity as premier during this campaign, trying to have conversations with American decision makers, convincing them that tariffs will hurt on both sides of the border. This trip, Doug Ford is slated to meet with a series of governors today, a handful. He started his day, though, meeting with the president and CEO of the Alliance for Automotive Innovation. Back on this side of the border, Green Party leader Mike Schreiner participated in a local all-candidates debate in his home riding of Guelph that was focused on housing. We also saw Bonnie Crombie, the Liberal leader, release her full platform with numbers attached, like $29 billion over 4 years for the Liberal health plan. That includes connecting every Ontarian to a family doctor over that time period. There are also new promises on education.
We will be building 90 new schools to get our kids out of portables. Yeah. We're also going to hire more educators, right? The teachers, support staff, not just educators and teachers, support staff that are needed, special ed teachers, and that comes by paying them properly, paying them the living wage that they need. And I'm also very proud to introduce that we're going to introduce a lunch program for people so that ensure that every child is focused and has, nutrition.
Now, the NDP is also out with their fully costed platform today. It includes creating a new tax bracket for ultra-high earners and a special tax for luxury residences. We're expecting to see Marit Stiles at a series of campaign stops in Hamilton and other parts of southwestern Ontario today, areas of the province the NDP is really struggling to maintain their vote share. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Siobhan. Returning now to our top story, Canada's win over Team USA at the Four Nations face-off last night. As we mentioned, the game was played amid political overtones. And before puck drop, Winnipeg native Chantal Kreviazuk decided to weigh in, changing a couple of the words to O Canada.
True patriot love that only us command.
She changed the lyric from "In All of Us Command" to "That Only Us Command." She says the slight tweak was in protest of U.S. President Donald Trump's threats to make Canada the 51st state. And CTV's Scott Hirsch joins me to talk about the game and, of course, that anthem that many are talking about as well. What kind of reactions are you hearing?
Nathan, a small change, but a big political statement, as we heard the publicist for Chantal Kreviacic confirm shortly after the anthem was sung that, in fact, she did it deliberately, pushing back against the statements from U.S. President Donald Trump, making Canada the 51st state, and all of the rhetoric we're hearing from the Trump administration and all the threats against Canada with the possible imposition of crippling tariffs against our country. When it comes to reaction, and you go on social media, of course, you can expect it to be quite mixed, and a lot of people are praising her for making the stand, pushing back against all the threats that we've been seeing from the U.S. administration, from the Trump administration. But of course, there is a difference of opinion about it. Some arguing you don't need to change the lyrics just to make a political statement. The anthem on its own is inherently patriotic. So of course there is mixed reaction to it, but it is a small change that is getting a lot of headlines. And even before this change to the anthem and the change to the wording, we saw that the anthem throughout this entire tournament and also at NHL games has become politically charged at sporting events. And last Saturday when Canada and the U.S. played in Montreal, we heard Canadian fans booing the U.S. anthem, and there was a smattering of boos as well, Nathan, as the anthem, the Canadian anthem, as O Canada was beginning, and that game last night was being played in Boston, so it was an American dominant crowd.
True. What about the game itself? So many storylines: McDavid, Marner, Binnington, the Kachuk brothers. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, so much to talk about, and a lot of it comes down to the politically charged nature of the relationship between Canada and the U.S. right now. And when it comes to puck drop, of course, we don't need all that extra backdrop, all the extra angst between the countries for this rivalry to be significant. Canada and the U.S. and a hockey rivalry is already quite historic, but we saw these players throughout the tournament. They tried to downplay what was going on outside the arena because, of course, to be fair to them, they had a job to do. They were going to win this tournament. But we heard in some of the post-game interviews that, of course, they were aware of what's going on, and after the fact were a bit more willing to admit that it did play a role, at least, when Canada can say that they are now the champions and ultimately took the title of the Four Nations face-off, can say it means a little bit more right now. Here's more from Canada's head coach, John Cooper.
I just hope Canada's proud, because every player in that room is proud to be a Canadian. And yeah, did we need a win? Not only like our team, but Canada needed a win. And the players bared that on their shoulders, and they took it seriously. And this one was different. This wasn't a win for themselves. This was a win for 40+ million people.
So, Nathan, maybe a little bit more nail-biting than a lot of people were hoping for, but of course this morning a lot of Canadians, whether it's downtown Toronto or main streets throughout the country, maybe a little bit bleary-eyed coming to work after staying up late to watch the game and maybe celebrating a little bit after the fact as well.
Yeah, I think many of us are doing that. CTV's Scott Hurst on Canada's big win over Team USA. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Lindsay.
Well, at this time last week, we were eyeing down some pretty tricky travel conditions for the Family Day long weekend. It's not Family Day anymore, but if you are hoping to maybe do some traveling to Collingwood, Muskoka, or the Kawarthas, conditions are a little more ideal for hitting the road this weekend. Still a chance of flurries here and there, but temperatures are really starting to rebound. We will be more comfortable by Sunday and then above freezing starting Monday. We'll give you an idea of how long that pattern could last after this break. You're watching CTV News at noon.
Square One is hosting a pop-up Black-owned business market inside the mall to support local Black-owned business and creators through an initiative called Trending Tables. CTV's Jessica Smith is there with all the details. Jess.
Nathan, we're down here, and what I found out is one of the biggest malls, if not the biggest malls in the country. And I know a lot of folks know Square One, but this is a really unique opportunity to come and check out Black-owned businesses in Black History Month and beyond. I'm joined by Catherine and Martina. I want to start with Catherine. Talk to me about why you wanted to bring this back, because I know it's not the first time you've had Trending Tables here.
Yes, so Square One has partnered with Trending Table for the past year to help showcase local businesses and connect them with our community. So the Black History Month market is our latest collaboration, and we're happy to feature local Black-owned businesses.
Now, Martina, you're the co-founder of Trending Tables. You guys are not new to this, but what does it mean to be able to be back here? You see the reception. I've seen people coming through, you know, in the last hour or so. It's been busy. What is it like to be here and be able to promote all these different businesses?
It feels so amazing to be able to bring this small business community for Black History Month here to celebrate Black excellence and all these amazing products that they're offering. It's just really, really special. So we're so excited to be here.
Now, you guys are here until the end of the week, until Sunday. What do you want people to know about this market? Because I feel like you've got so many opportunities. You've got beauty, you've got clothing, you've got hair care, you've got health, you've got jewelry, and they're all Canadian Black-owned businesses. What do you want people to know when they're coming down before they start checking all this cool stuff out?
Yeah, so that's not all. During the weekend, we have community activities like live painting and still pen performance. We also have Women of Influence Jam Gamble coming in to speak to audience, followed by a meet and greet.
Now, it is Black History Month. We know it's important to continue this conversation beyond the month. What do you want people to know about Trending Tables beyond February, beyond the pop-up that you guys have here?
It's so important to support Black-owned businesses, not only today, you know, BIPOC businesses as well, all year round. We're a community that's always in support of entrepreneurship and the small business community, so we'll always be here. You can always come to our platform to showcase and sell your products.
Now, I've seen people coming through in the last hour that we've been here, kind of getting to know everybody here. What is it like to see folks come through and maybe discover a business for the first time that is Black-owned, and a lot of them are from people right here in the neighborhood?
Yeah, so it's great to see our community come for the Black History Month market and support BIPOC businesses. So, you know, Mississauga is very diverse, and we always seek to find local entrepreneurs to connect with our community and help them grow their audience.
Now, we are getting towards kind of the mid parts of this pop-up here, but if people want to be involved in the next one, they want to get involved with you guys to be able to promote not only their own business, but just the Black creator community, how can they do that?
Yeah, they can find us on Instagram, The Trending Table Inc., or on our website as well, thetrendingtable.ca.
Listen, so many opportunities to come down and support Black-owned businesses the rest of the week into the weekend. Again, it runs until the 23rd here. We're just kind of located near the food court, so if you know Square One, you know where we are. So make sure you come on down and check it out. Thank you, ladies, so much. We have amazing businesses. I'm going to do maybe a little shopping. I'm going to send it back to you guys in studio.
Oh, you could do your shopping. You could have lunch there. What a great place to be on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, it works.
Thanks, Jess. You got us in the mood. Yeah, the weekend is here, and we have bright sunshine. That really is a great way to roll right into a few days off.
Well, I mean, after last night, you had mentioned many of us tired, kind of getting over it. Thank goodness they won. And then you got some sunshine as well to top it off.
Yes, and we're all wearing our Canadian red today. I couldn't help but notice. So, yes, it's a good day. Canada won. We've got sunshine out there, and temperatures are slowly getting a little bit warmer, if that's what you like to hear at this time of year. We do have to mention, though, that there's potential for some active weather in the long range, a couple of clipper systems next week. And because it's going to be milder, we could get some wet snow. We could also get some rain. Weather is brought to you by the Pressler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. A beautiful sight out there today with that sunshine. There's Lake Ontario just sparkling. It is cold, though. It has been cold the last couple of days, and we're still feeling it today. Even in this shot, you can maybe just sense that there's a bit of a chill in the air. As we make our way through this afternoon, the gradual improvement begins. We'll notice it even more so, though, as we make our way, especially into Sunday, and I'll explain why in just a moment. Do want to mention, though, what an improvement across the Canadian prairies, too. So it's not just us warming up in southern Ontario, but temperatures in Saskatchewan, parts of Alberta improving, too, and also in northern sections of Ontario. For example, it's only -9 degrees right now in Moosonee. Let's try and zoom a little bit closer here to southern Ontario. I might have my graphics artist just help me click along here, as this clicker doesn't quite seem to want to work at this moment, but I can let you know that it is -7 degrees in the city of Toronto. It feels more like -14 once you take those winds into consideration, and they are coming out of the northwest today. We're going to change to a southwest wind as we make our way into the night tonight and the day tomorrow. So -6 is our forecast high, dropping to about -11 degrees overnight tonight, so still chilly. Wind chill -18, partly cloudy skies, but there's that southwest wind, so that's a sign that things are going to start to change. But it is worth mentioning that the winds will still be kind of gusty tomorrow, so as a result, it's still going to feel into the minus double digits. -4 degrees, though, for the high in St. Thomas, -3 in and around Welland and Niagara Falls, -4 degrees for you in Aurora. Great looking day in Collingwood if you're considering hitting the slopes, and -4 degrees in Uxbridge with about a 30 to 40% chance of flurries. Really areas east of Toronto and in through the eastern part of Georgian Bay. Likely to see a little bit of flurry activity, but otherwise all is pretty quiet here on our weather board until we get to about Monday, and we're going to show you that now in the forecast radar. First, we'll let this play out. Might see a little bit of an increase in cloud cover later today, and then your Saturday has some sun, some cloud. Just a heads up, again, there's Saturday night, so east of Georgian Bay and then east of Toronto, maybe a few flurries, not amounting to a whole lot. Heading into the day on Sunday, chance of flurries still, mostly cloudy skies, and here's what's starting to creep in for Monday. So this is the first of a couple of clipper systems that are going to swing through, but because the temperature is going to be elevated and above freezing, we might see some mixed precipitation as a result. -4 degrees for your Saturday, -1 on Sunday, again with calmer winds, so it'll be nice for getting outside. Even though it's going to be quite cloudy, beyond that through the rest of our 7-day forecast, we've got that 70% chance of wet snow or rain on Monday, perhaps Tuesday and Wednesday as well. That's your look at the forecast. I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. Coming up, going back to basics. Doctors at Sunnybrook Hospital are going old school using stethoscopes for checkups to identify heart disease. That's after the break.
A quick, simple test is helping doctors from Sunnybrook Health Sciences identify patients with heart valve problems.
Our health reporter Pauline Chan has the details.
The cardiac team from Sunnybrook paid a special visit to residents at the Bob Rumble Center for the Deaf to give their hearts a listen, and certified interpreters were on hand to help.
They come here, and today we're doing a heart checkup, a stethoscope checkup, and for our seniors that are here, it saves us going, 75 of us going down to the hospital.
What are the doctors and nurses listening for?
If a murmur is detected, then it starts this cascade that we're really good at. But that first step needs to be done. And so this is an awareness campaign, really, to encourage people over the age of 65 to have their hearts listened to.
Unusual sounds tell the listener that something is wrong with the valves of the heart.
The doctor was asking me about if I had any symptoms of heart conditions, and I was explaining, yes, I had some tightness in my chest, and I also have I suffer from bronchitis and breathing, so when they were asking about my breathing, that was an issue.
Herberto Cedres has to go in for further tests, but the good news is there are many successful treatments for heart valve diseases. The stethoscope test is simple and inexpensive, yet many just can't get one.
As you know, there is a shortage of family physicians across the country and certainly within this province.
But Dr. Harindra Wijasundra says at their last community event, 39 people were screened and 3 had heart murmurs. They hope to screen some 50 people at this stethoscope check, and Sunnybrook hopes to schedule another event in September. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
As diabetes rates in Canada continue to rise, there's additional concern surrounding rates among Black Canadians.
CTV's Vanessa Wright reports more data may be the key to unlocking what's at play here.
More than 20 Canadians die of diabetes-related complications every 24 hours. And in that same time, nearly 500 Canadians are diagnosed with the disease, according to Diabetes Canada. But for Black Canadians, the risk is higher.
The Canadian Health Coalition conducted a poll last summer, and what we found out was more than twice as many non-white Canadians have diabetes than white Canadians.
McLean says there are many factors that can help explain why that is. A lack of national data on the issue is one of them.
You can see a lot of data that's coming out of the U.S. However, you can't see data that's coming out of Canada because there isn't a will and a want to find out that information.
Right beside a lack of data is a lack of trust, according to this Dalhousie University professor.
What you're dealing with is a mistrust in our healthcare system. And that mistrust in our healthcare system goes, for a very long time. And so we have to develop trust in our Black community for people to understand that it's not going to be used against them, but it's going to be used for them.
While Hamilton Hinch says physical activity and eating clean can reduce the risk, she says accessibility to those things present even more barriers for African Nova Scotian communities.
A lot of our communities are located in food deserts. And even when they are close to food, the food is very expensive. Very few of our communities have sidewalks just for easily physical activity. It's one of our cheapest and most efficient way to be physically active is by walking.
And once Black patients seek medical treatment, the lack of data and mistrust creates the perfect storm. And diabetes isn't the only disease that disproportionately affects the Black community. Hamilton Hinch says Black Canadians are at a higher risk for heart attacks and have higher blood pressure. She says having more community-based information sessions is a good first step in breaking down barriers. Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Halifax.
Influenza continues to be the main driver of respiratory virus activity across our province. Public Health Ontario shared its latest weekly summary looking at February 9th to the 15th. More than 22% of lab tests for flu came back positive, denoting a high rate of spread right now. More than 700 patients were hospitalized for their flu infections, while 165 were admitted for RSV and 486 for COVID. Those viruses remained at low levels of spread, and there were 0 COVID deaths reported that week. Meanwhile, Peel Public Health is confirming a new case of measles. Officials also believe members of the public could have been exposed to the virus at a Brampton clinic and pharmacy. It may have had a chance to spread at Cornerstone Medical Center for more than a 3-hour period on Sunday. Anyone who may have been exposed should watch for measles symptoms for up to 21 days. The latest data from Public Health Ontario shows nearly 60 confirmed and 6 probable cases of measles in the province so far this year.
Many students are in the process of choosing a college or university for the fall.
For those staying in residence, they'll most likely have to pay for a meal plan, whether they want one or not. Some students say that's just not fair. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
Every year, more than 2 million students head off to college and university in Canada, and those who are living in residence usually must purchase a meal plan. The mandatory plans can be expensive, have limited options, and are often non-refundable.
I have some disabilities that make it so that I just am very sensitive to the foods that I eat.
Mathusha asked us not to identify her. She is a third-year student at York University who lives in residence. Along with paying rent, she has to pay for a meal plan that costs almost $5,000 for the year. Mathusha says she has a disability and dietary restrictions and can't eat any of the food in the plan she was forced to purchase.
I'm not able to use any of it, and I haven't used a dime so far.
The student says she has to bring special meals from home. With grocery prices at all-time highs, she feels she should be allowed to get a refund for the meal plan she's not using.
It's really disappointing, and it's really frustrating. It's really difficult and stressful.
The Canadian Federation of Students says students are facing financial pressures, and many complain they should not be forced into mandatory meal programs. There are also concerns about the quality and quantity of food students receive.
A lot of students also have to pay residence fees and meal plan fees, and the meal plans can be very restrictive and very inaccessible for a lot of students.
CTV News reached out to York University, and a spokesperson said it wants to ensure students have access to healthy food options and that dorm-style rooms on our campuses do not have a kitchen. That's why York's meal plan is mandatory for students living in these spaces on campus. York said students are required to inform the university of dietary needs when they apply to residence. After receiving documents regarding Mathusha's diet, the school offered her a prorated refund of almost $3,000. Mathusha would have to switch to a residence with cooking facilities where the meal plan is not mandatory, an option she is now considering. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Over 3 years after the release of No Time to Die, Amazon MGM says it's taking creative control of the James Bond franchise.
If we don't do this, there will be nothing left to save.
Longtime Bond custodians Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli say they're stepping back and handing over the franchise after decades of family control for a reported $1 billion. The pair will remain part of a joint venture with Amazon MGM that owns the intellectual property rights for the iconic spy character. Amazon has suggested it has plans to expand James Bond beyond the beloved original novels and movie adaptations. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos celebrated the news, posting on social media, "Who'd you pick as the next Bond?" as fans wait to see who takes on the role after Daniel Craig.
HBO has set the release date for the next season of the highly anticipated The Last of Us.
Oh, you want to start or what?
Catherine O'Hara is among the new faces joining the cast in season 2, which was filmed in BC. The Last of Us is based on 2 video games about a pair of zombie apocalypse survivors in a post-disaster United States. The 7th episode season debuts on April 13th.
He didn't win any Grammys, but singer Benson Boone is chalking up another big music industry win. Boone's hit Beautiful Things has been named the best-selling single of 2024 across all digital formats. The honor is granted by the IFPI, the organization that represents the global recorded music industry. The song beat Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso and Teddy Swims' track Lose Control, which rounded out the top 3. Earlier this week, Taylor Swift was named the overall best-selling artist for the 3rd year in a row.
Canada's own Tate McCrae dropped her highly anticipated 3rd album overnight. McCrae marked the debut with a music video for her song Revolving Door. McCrae says the video has some special meaning as it features 15 doors, one for each track on her new album. The album called So Close to What is called So Close to What, and McCrae is touring with it on her Miss Possessive tour with stops in Toronto, August 19th and the 20th.
It may not be the music news you were expecting today. Justin Trudeau's eldest son has officially dropped his first single. After teasing it last month, 17-year-old Zavier has released Till the Night's Done under the name Zav. A full music video is coming out later today. The song is described as moody R&B, and his producers say Zav has more music on the way.
Still to come, Stellantis is temporarily pausing work on the next generation of the Jeep Compass at its Brampton assembly plant. We'll have details and the rest of your business headlines right after this short break.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A blow to Canada's auto sector as the threat of U.S. tariffs hangs over the industry.
Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg has the latest in business.
Hello there, here are your business headlines. Stellantis says it is halting work on the next generation Jeep Compass SUV at its plant in Brampton, Ontario, and also shutting down all activities at the factory for now. However, the company says this does not affect previously announced investment plans for the facility. That plant has been retooling to build electric and gas-powered vehicles for the Jeep brands. Shares in the giant U.S. health insurer United Health fell almost 10%. The Justice Department is investigating whether the company's billing practices milk extra money out of Medicare Advantage. That is private plans which get government payments. In December, the head of the company's insurance division was murdered. That shooting led to public outcry about how frequently insurers deny medical care. Gold, which has hit record highs this week, slipped slightly to trade at around $2,930 US an ounce. For more than 1 billion Indians, the metal plays a vital role in their future security. Bloomberg says Indian households own about 25,000 tons of gold, roughly 5 times the amount stored in the U.S. depository at Fort Knox. That passion for gold dates back centuries, even millennia. Indians of all classes spend about 20% of their income on the metal, according to one research group. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of B&N Bloomberg.
A Royal LePage survey shows most Canadians with mortgage renewals this year are bracing for a hit to their finances. The real estate company says more than 1 million mortgages are up for renewal across Canada this year. Out of 1,300 homeowners in that situation, 57% expect to face higher monthly borrowing costs. That figure includes 35% bracing for a slight increase and 22% fearing a significant jump in their mortgage payments. Many homeowners renewing this year would have signed their mortgages under the historically low rates early in the COVID pandemic.
A new report suggests a high-speed rail link between Toronto and Quebec City could deliver billions of dollars in economic benefits. Prime Minister Trudeau this week pledged nearly $4 billion for the next phase in planning a 1,000-kilometer rail line between the two cities. The C.D. Howe Institute says the proposed plan would generate between $15 and $27 billion in value over 6 decades. The authors say up to a third of that sum would come from user benefits like faster and more reliable train service. But it also notes benefits from reduced gas emissions and road congestion along the corridor if the project goes ahead. Meanwhile, TTC passengers won't have to navigate any major subway closures this weekend as the transit system deals with the aftermath of all the recent snowfall. Service on Line 1 was previously set to shut down all day Saturday and Sunday between Bloor-Yonge and Osgood stations. That closure is now canceled.
While Trump policies have left Canada-U.S. relations feeling heated, there was a recent heartwarming show of cross-border camaraderie. CTV's Andrew Johnson has the details.
It's a crowd that appears proudly Canadian. They're covered in red and white. They're waving the maple leaf. But this is Washington State, and these are Americans who want their northern neighbors to know this.
Real Americans love you guys.
Close to 200 of them lined the ferry terminal in Port Angeles, Washington, waiting for the first ferry of the year from Victoria, BC.
We're for Canada, and we're not for all the animosity that our administration's trying to put between the two countries. And you guys are our closest friends and allies, and we couldn't do it without you.
Canada's our neighbor, and you don't treat neighbors that way. And all of us are really upset about that.
They are referring to the treatment from Trump. The president's tariff threat has led to calls for Canadians to boycott American products and travel. Bad news for border towns like this one.
A lot of small businesses are going to be going out of business, and we're going to have vacant storefronts, and we don't want to see that.
The Canadian dip, also fueled by the low dollar, has already begun. New numbers from Washington State show southbound traffic at BC border crossings in February is down between 20 and 40%.
We understand those strong feelings exist, and we hope that, this is just a chaotic moment that is going to pass.
With limited ability to affect decisions at a federal level, this town is doing what it can to let these Canadian visitors know they're valued, a message that left many moved.
It's so heartwarming, and I just appreciate all these people taking the time. It's very emotional.
Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Port Angeles, Washington.
Coming up, stars hit the red carpet at Scarborough Town Centre last night, debuting a new film that showcases the Morningside neighborhood.
It was a big night in Scarborough. A new film set against the backdrop of the vibrant Morningside neighborhood has its red carpet debut. It was last night.
CTV's Andrea Case was there and has more on the film's preview.
A big turnout for a hometown production. Fans filled Scarborough Town Centre in support of the movie. The cast and crew gathered for a question and answer period before the film was screened.
I just wish I had the chance to do what you're doing.
Oh, so you're basically living vicariously through me.
Vicariously?
Yeah, vicariously means.
I know what vicariously means.
Morningside explores 7 diverse characters whose lives collide at the fictitious Scarborough Morningside Community Centre. 2-time Juno winner Fifi Dobson co-stars in the film, which was co-written and co-produced by Joan Jansen and Ron Diaz, who also directed the film.
I was asked by one of my good friends, and when he asks me about something, I'm pretty much into it and down. I mean, he's very passionate, and I'm very proud of him. And then I'm from Scarborough, born in Scarborough General, you know what I mean? I grew up on Wilcox Creek, with Morningside and Sewells, and Kingston Road and Galloway, so I'm representing.
Giving back, the film's producers made a donation to BGC East Scarborough Youth Innovation and Cultural Center, where the film was shot.
We're over the moon to have our community profiled in this way. We're over the moon to have the opportunity for our youth to be engaged in this way. And just very appreciative to see Scarborough being put on the map where we belong.
T-shirts and hats repping the film are available at Eglinton Square Mall and ScarboroughSpots.com. Morningside opens in theaters in Scarborough and elsewhere today. Andrea Case, CTV News.
That looks good. I want to see that.
You know what? Don't you love watching a movie and noticing parts of Toronto?
know.
It's so
Parts of your own
satisfying.
city.
Yeah, I hope that definitely looks good. Okay, weather-wise, what do we need to know? We're heading into another weekend.
We are, and maybe you're heading out to enjoy a movie tonight. We want to take one more look at what the temperatures are going to be like for not just this evening, but overnight. We are falling once again into minus double-digit territory, and it's going to feel, in many cases, closer to minus 20 once you do factor in the wind. Here's your weekend forecast. Some sun for your Saturday, mostly cloudy on Sunday, but less of a wind chill, comfortable for being outside. We do have a chance of flurries. Just want to remind you that ski conditions look great right across the province if you're looking for an outdoor activity to enjoy this weekend. And then there's your 7-day forecast. Pretty cloudy once we get past tomorrow. Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Dowder. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.